Yo, what up, people? Welcome to the Joe McFo Show. We're going to get some music playing real quick, and we're going to kick off our very last live stream of the year 2023. We have done quite a lot in this past year. We've done posters, we've done we made a website. We got Megan and Kathy on the stream. We got new items like this little light over here, so this has been quite the year for shadow.boxers, so it's pretty exciting. Kathy says happy holidays. Amanda says happy 2024. We are close to 2024, not quite there yet, but nonetheless, yes, it has been quite the year. So hopefully you guys are all doing well. I want to check this volume real quick and make sure the music's coming through my headphones. I don't know if it is. No, it's not coming through my headphones for some weird reason. That's okay, though. It'll sort itself out. Okay, so anyway, what I want to work on this week, we're going to continue up with the images from last time. We were doing some backgrounds for the comic, and we had two options. We had this one here, where Javen's kind of jumping over all the buildings, and then we have this rooftop image where Javen's with his buddies. So I'm curious, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want me to work on image number 1 or image number 2? Put it in the chat and I'll know what we're going to be working on. The other thing I also want to say is, again, want to promote the shadow.boxers website. If you want to know more about it, this is the website to go to. And obviously, don't forget, we have a merch store. We don't have any new items this week, but we do have like 40 things on here already. We got t-shirts, we got stickers, we got hoodies, water bottles, socks. And we even got this gaming mouse pad. So if you want to support, this is the best way to do so. And we got lots of stuff coming in 2024 as well. We still have a lot of ideas that we want to make in the store itself. But beyond that, thank you so much for you guys' support throughout the year and even in 2022 when I was first starting these streams. So it's been super meaningful for me. I appreciate you all. And I also even got my this is the most Christmassy thing I have in my arsenal. I don't really have a lot of Christmas stuff, but this is the closest we're gonna get. So just want to share that. And then in a second, we'll get started on the drawing. Again, tell me what you guys want to see in terms of me, my drawing. So put your votes in the chat. Something's happening with my headphones. I can't even hear in here. So let me try reconnecting. Hopefully the mic still is fine though. Let's see. It's gonna work. So I want to be able to hear the music. There we go. All right, now we're working. So what do you guys think? Should we do drawing number 1 or drawing number 2? Matter of fact, maybe this will make it easier so you can see both at the same time. Put it in the chat. I don't know how far we're going to get with these. But we shall see. Now, one thing I also want you guys to know is I am going to be working in Clip Studio Paint for this one because I think it's going to be easier with the perspective tool. I think I mentioned last time that I wish I had not done it in Photoshop so I can get the right perspective. But I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I forgot that Clip Studio is compatible with Photoshop images. So why not just turn it into that later on down the line? Okay, we got Amanda and Manette both saying 1. All right, I was kind of hoping you guys would say that. So we're going to do number 1 then, and we are going to move forward with that. So here we go. And I've already I believe I've already done this. Is it going to work? Oh, okay. So apparently, wait, is this even the right file? Hold on, let me just double check. Because I should have already pre-made the horizon lines and stuff, but I guess it didn't go through. Or maybe I just opened up the wrong file. No. Okay, whatever. It'll be fine. Let me actually save this as a Clip Studio file real quick. And then that way I can make sure everything saves properly. So what I'm going to go to Layer, ruler frame, create perspective ruler, 2-point perspective. I'm just going to create my own grid right here. So I'm going to move the horizon line down here. Thankfully, I already have that drawn out in the red. And then hopefully I can make it so that this doesn't move. There we go. Perspective is locked. Okay. And then let me move the whatchamacallit, the vanishing points to where I want them to be. So that looks pretty good there. Yeah, that looks all right. And this is going to make it a lot easier for me when it comes time to just doing the quick perspective on most of these buildings. Let's see who else is here. Lily Sapphire says, hello, I love both, but one is very dynamic and eye-catching. I have to agree. Awesome. Bernice is here. Happy holidays. Megan's in here. What is up, Joe McFo fam? Yes, what is up? Thank you guys so much for coming. Super appreciate it. And yeah, this is going to be the last one for 2023 because next Sunday is Christmas Eve, and then the week after that is New Year's Eve. And I don't feel like competing with those holidays because I want you guys to be with your families. So, and I plan to be with my family as well. So I will see you guys probably in the first or second week of 2024. We'll determine how all that goes. And yeah, we'll just keep it. We'll just do it like that. All right. So now I just want to decide on the brush I want to use. I think the Sick Pencil brush could still work for this. All right. So let me see. Do I still have the references that I pulled up last time? I gotta check my tabs. No, I do not. All right, that's okay. It's quite all right. So how's everyone's week? Who here is dealing with finals and stuff? I know that a lot of my students are dealing with that. I actually have my final class tomorrow. We'll pull up something real quick just for reference, something to aspire to. And because it's Avatar, or technically Korra, I'm gonna do my hydration check. It's purely just for style reference to see how loose they get. So I don't want to get too uptight if possible, but they do a really good job with these. So I'm gonna slide this over and that should be plenty to work with. So yeah, right now I'm just going to do a bunch of vertical lines. Oh, you know what, actually? Scratch that. Could I do this? I wonder, I'm gonna try something. I saw a trick. I don't know if it'll work for this because it might have to be perfectly flat line, but it's basically talking about shape tool and how you can use it to draw things in perspective automatically for you. Let's see. Yeah, like stuff like this. But only problem with this is it doesn't give the line work that I want, even in a vector. Oh, that's way. Can I change it? Let me see. How do you change the line to vector? I know there's a way to do it. Brush shape. Let's try this. Is it working? No. I'll figure it out. It'll be all right. Submitted grades today. Good luck on finals if you guys have got any. Yes, good luck to all you guys. I'm free from school. I only do work demanded courses now, so finals are no longer in my life. Excellent. I had to cancel finals because admin wants me to supervise a paint by number thing with the admin. How do you cancel finals? That's so interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone doing that before. I don't think I've ever heard of that. All right. So one thing that I'll be honest about, I've never been a huge environment guy. I admire the people who do them. But one of the reasons partially is because when it comes to perspective, it's very easy for me to get kind of lazy and just not want to do it. But that's why I like things like Clue Studio Paint, because it just maps everything out for you so easily. And if I ever want to change things, I can always do that rather quickly. Let me take this line, get rid of that. And let me look up the favelas again. Some of the shapes are a bit organic, and I want to make sure I remember that. Sketching these out. Is it going to work? Close enough. So I'm curious, now that we're coming to a close for 2023, what is something that you guys are proud of, or that make you feel accomplished? I know for myself, I feel like I've done quite a lot in this past 12 months. But I don't know, just as like a retrospective thing, I'm very curious to know what how you guys feel about everything that's happened in the last year for yourself. Do you guys feel like you could have done better, could have done more, or do you feel like you conquered life and everything was just going swimmingly? Let me know. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to turn this off here, and I'm just going to be a little bit more organic. Hit here, come back in. Well, my finals are high school finals, not college. Oh, that's right. Okay. Forgot about that. I think my pangs are finally getting good. Now I want them to be great. Hey, that's a great achievement, though. Just being able to acknowledge, like, hey, you know what? I've improved. That's always something that's really amazing. So happy for you on that. Let's see, can I merge these two without losing? There we go. Okay. Come back here, draw some more verticals. It's probably the easiest part. Just drawing the verticals of all this stuff here. I'm not doing all the horizontals because I think they're all going to have various vanishing points. Not all of them are going to be in the exact same two places. Okay. And then let's come in here. Let's draw a nice roof. I should probably create a frame for this too, huh? Rectangle. How do I do this with no fill? Is this it? Oh, is this what I was looking at before? Oh, shoot. That's what I was trying to do. Whoops. I know it. I didn't even know it. Man, it says I'm getting confident with it. I've never been confident about my work. That's awesome. Congratulations about that, because that's a hard place to get to, feeling confident. That's probably one of the biggest challenges that all artists face, not just visual artists, but, you know, music artists or any type of craftsman or anyone who has a trade or a skill that they have to develop. It's probably always going to be the case. Neftali says, hello, I have my last final for my psych class. Excellent. Congratulations. I hope you do well. Very happy with where my style is now. Also, I just made a lot of art. That's awesome. Well, you've always been making a lot of art. That's just how it is. I know I've known you for, man, it's been 7 years since, yeah, it's been about 7 years since we met, huh? 6, 7. That's awesome. Amanda says, Thanks, Jordan. You should be proud of all the work you've accomplished. Wow, A plus. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Amanda. It's hard to believe sometimes, like what I'm able to do in a year, because I kid you not, I was going through my iPad looking at all my old artwork from like the last couple of years, like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was actually kind of ashamed. I was like, I should be doing more. I should be doing way more than this. I'm more capable of this, and you know, I don't want to just get into the habit of thinking that way, but I also do want to level up significantly. So, gotta be careful about that self-talk, even for myself. Lily says, I improved significantly in my figure drawings. I used to struggle plenty with muscles, but now they read pretty well. That's awesome. Kathy says, for me, I'm proud of finishing grad school, the 50th stream, and the website. You should be, because literally every single person who I've shown the website to is like, this is awesome. Like, it's not even a contest. So that's super awesome. And we are very happy to have you on the team, Kathy. Amanda says, fantastic, Lily. Anybody else not getting music? Is that on purpose? I'm getting music, Megan. Lily says, I hear the music. I got music, but it's really faint. I can turn it up a little bit. It is kind of lo-fi, but I keep it down just because there have been a couple times where you're like, it's too loud, turn it off. So I try and measure it that way. But yeah, if you ever can't hear music or it's too loud, just let me know. I can always adjust it. Manette says, I've been experimenting more with different mediums instead of relying solely on something I'm comfortable with. I've also made less art this year, but I'm overall happier with what I have made. That's a really big step for you to be able to admit that to yourself, because it's not always easy to just say something like, I've made less work, but I'm happier overall with where I'm at. I think there's a lot of pressure on artists to constantly be producing stuff, because we're pressured to just be these little factories, like one-person factories. And that can be really difficult for people. I know for myself, that's really challenging, because you want to be able to do all the things. You want to be able to go like, oh, I can do 3D. Oh, I can do this. I can do this. And I can animate. And at a certain point, it just becomes overwhelming. And, I don't think that's how art is meant to be, personally. But, different strokes for different folks. Some people like the competition in art. I'm not really for that personally. I don't really care for the competition aspect myself. I'm just not really a competitive person. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but there were times on like Art Prof where we do crit clashes, and I had a hard time with those because we were supposed to like argue a very specific point, and I had a hard time because I just don't argue. I don't even care enough to argue with people about stuff. So it is what it is. Bernice says, and also 7 years, we've come a long way. Yes, we have. It's pretty wild to think. I think, to be fair, it's hard to picture because 3 of those years were basically like, or can I say 3? 2.5 of those years are basically like wiped away because of everything that happened when the Fire Nation attacked. If Shakespeare used pencil instead of ink to write his plays, would he use a 2B or not 2B? What do you guys think? Would he use a 2B or not 2B? It's a fair question. Mark. It's way too early for that. Hello, everyone. It's early for you. It's late for us. For me, it's 6:20 p.m. Amanda's got the wave. I think that was like our second hydration check, though, because I pulled up the core art book as well. All right, so we're getting some of these mountains and stuff. I have our little statue right here. I could probably be a little more complex. I'm still debating on if I want this statue at the top of the mountain necessarily, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so question for you guys. I asked you all what you are proud of in 2023. What are some of your goals for 2024? That's the next one. I'm not, I don't really like to do New Year's resolutions. I feel like they're kind of, how I put it, I feel like it's one of those things where people will commit for the first 6 to 8 weeks, and then they slip up 1 week, and then the rest of it does not get done. I'll start off. One of my goals for 2024 is to produce more Shadowboxers content, specifically story-related stuff, so comics in particular. I think that's where I want to put my focus. I was actually just working on script stuff this week, and it's gotten to a place where I'm kind of feeling it. I'm really liking where it's heading, and I'm pretty excited to show you guys what's gonna come. Neftali says, didn't really make a lot of art this year, just sketching and a lot of writing with research for world building. Hey, that's no problem. Honestly, these giant movie studios, they spend a year or two just on development stuff. Like they don't even do like official work for a lot of it, because they're still writing scripts, they're still working out deals, and that's what you call development hell. Oftentimes that happens. Turn that so you can see the light. So yeah, that happens all the time. So I wouldn't feel bad about that. I'm most proud of my improvements in my Chinese. I don't have to do it, but I stuck with it, and I've made a lot of progress. In the beginning, I was pushing myself too much, saying I'm gonna study an hour a day, and I had to scale back to make it actually fun. And so I would keep going. Very interesting. Well, that's awesome. I know nothing about speaking Chinese, but I know it is difficult, and I'm glad you're improving. Remember to like the stream, last stream of the year, so Jordan comes back next year. Yeah, you want to make sure I come back. If you guys like the stream, please do that. Because I have an ego. And I need to know you guys all love me. Seeing the string, it's not supposed to be here. Why have a New Year's resolution when you can just have a resolution? That's another good point. Yeah, why that's the exact thing I'm thinking. Why not just start whenever? Like if you decide on March 14th that you need to make a change, you don't need to wait till January 1st to do that. You can make that change on March 14th. You know what I mean? Megan, you really should be proud. Yes, Megan, you should be proud. And everyone else should be proud too. Life is challenging, y'all. Life is challenging. We all deserve to be able to look back and kind of acknowledge the accomplishments and the efforts that we've made. All right, let's see. Now, can I add more vanishing points, or can I move them? I think I could just move these, right? Okay, that's how you lock them. Is there a way to duplicate? Can't remember. You know what? I'm just going to look it up because I don't know. Add vanishing point. Let's see. Tool property palette. Okay, let's see. Where's the tool property? Is that this? Oh, here we go. Add an action point. Excellent. There we go. Perfect. Change up some of these locations. Oops, that's not the right one. Still getting used to this. You can lock these, right? Which one is this? Is it this one? Yeah. Let's not create a tangent. Let's go back a little bit. Oh man, I missed a lot. Oh geez. Okay, hold on. Let me catch up with these comments. 2024. I fear what it's gonna bring. You know what? Wise man once said, "Not to worry about the things of the future, for unto the day is the evil sufficient thereof." Mark said, "I missed the question. I'm proud of quitting my job to pursue this full time. It was confusing for most of the year. Got into many interesting ways of making art, overwhelmed by the sheer amount I can do. Started 3D sculpting, got a gig doing motion graphics, made a watercolor calendar with my wife, and went back to Spanish Duolingo." Jeez, you had a busy year, Mark. Okay, good for you, man. That's dope. Good for you. Kathy agrees. Mark, that is amazing. Amanda says, "Absolutely, Meg. Woohoo. I want to improve more on my Dutch and French, and I want to find more time to make art for me." These are heartwarming. Also, congratulations everyone on your achievements this year and to your achievements next year. My goals for 2024 are to take my sketches and make practice to finished work, do mini comics to help me with making comics, and do small animations to practice animation, at least combining style. Oh my gosh, there's so many art goals. I love it. Amanda, I'm kind of afraid of 2024 too. It's shaping up to be a super stressful but also exciting year. Manette says, "My goal for 2024 is to also experiment more with making short comics and figure out a good plan to get through the more tedious parts. I love inking, but the process to get to that stage is long." I'm the opposite. I like the sketching stage, but the inking stage is like, it takes forever. My goal for the next is to be more intentional with who I make and study, to combine all I've learned to start making actual illustrations. And then Megan just talking to Kathy saying, "Thank you. In 6 months, I went from..." I don't know what that is. For those who don't know, that's a standard of literacy for foreign speakers. Okay, yeah, thank you for explaining that, because HSK3 sounds like a cheat code for Grand Theft Auto, and I wasn't really sure. Okay, so let's keep it going. I'm going to fudge some of this a little bit. I kind of like the angles I was getting here. Yeah, I want to get a lot further with shadow.boxers. That's like my biggest goal. I want to make more videos, more edited videos on YouTube if possible. I want to make more comics. I want to post more on social media, because I have a hard time with social media, guys. Like, everyone I know, and I agree, tells me the importance of social media and using it to promote art. I just have a hard time with it. It's one of those things that I just don't really spend as much time like creating stuff as I should. So that's something that I want to get better at. Just this week in general, like I could get better at that this week and not just later on. But the challenge is, like, everyone's like, "Jordan, you need to post more," and then I forget to record my drawing process all the time, or most of some oftentimes I spend a lot of hours just doing the writing stuff of shadow boxers, not necessarily the drawing aspect, and so it makes it a little more challenging when it comes to posting. Um, so I have to find a way to around that. Maybe I'll start posting things I'm thinking about for story stuff when it comes to this, because the current method is not the business. It's not working. Okay. Okay. Once I build up these basic blocks, then I can go and start like really adding that extra detail that makes things look really sexy. Okay. If only there were cheat codes for learning. I know, right? I've always been jealous of that scene in The Matrix where Neo had just all this kung fu information just like ported into his head. I would love that. But then again, I guess as an educator, I will be out of a job, so maybe I should not wish for that. I can't wait to see more of Shadowboxers. I've introduced it to all my closest friends. Oh, that is the coolest thing ever. Thank you, Lily Sapphire. That is so sweet of you. And please keep promoting it and keep pushing it. That's going to be my goal for this coming year. So that is really awesome. Thank you. For those who are looking for ways to add structure to their goals, I really like this little short clip from James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. I have that book in my shelf. I have to finish it. Let me see. To be fair, recording your process kind of takes away from the flow of drawing or painting. At least for me, I start overanalyzing what the audience would like to see and not what I was going to do anyway. Yeah, so my thing with that is I have recorded the entire process to certain drawings, and sometimes that takes an hour, 2 hours or more, and then cutting up 2 hours of stuff into 20, 30 seconds is incredibly difficult, and it's almost just as time consuming as the drawing itself. And so I'm like, okay, I need to find another method, because clearly this ain't gonna work. This is not the business. Let's sketch Javen out a little bit. Actually, no, we came from backgrounds. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get tempted and I'm gonna just be analyzing him. Let me focus on Javen. I'm sorry, the background. Because I have a Freudian slip or something. Yeah, it does take me out of the process when I'm thinking about my audience in that sense. Not to say I don't want to think about y'all, but sometimes it does kind of take away a little bit. And plus, no one likes having a camera right here. Like whenever I draw and record the process with my phone, it's always like I'm always looking over my shoulder. It's like trying to look over the tall kid in class, who's like when you're watching a movie. It's like that. And I experienced that one time. I was in the front row, my science class in the 6th grade, and there was one girl. She was behind me, and she was on the short side. I don't even think she was 5 feet tall. I'd be surprised if she was 5 feet tall. And I also had a bit of an afro, a lot bigger than what I have now. And she was like, "Jordan, can you please like lower yourself because I can't see a thing." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I just, because otherwise I'd be slouching. I'd be like this the whole time, 2024 is going to be real busy for me family-wise, but that's not going to stop me from continuing my comic stuff. So much travel, though. Ooh, that's fun. Where are you traveling to, if you can tell us? Or just one spot, I would be curious. Same, Jordan. I want to be able to finish the research for Feather Cleanse and make art for it to practice my skills, but I want to make sure story-wise I have no plot holes. I'm sure some of you story people can talk about this too. Um, plot holes, plot holes are definitely something that I try and focus on. Um, I guess the real key thing is just making sure you've answered every question that your audience can potentially answer. Because there's a way. How do I put this? Some people build everything from like the end to the beginning, which is what I've done with shadowboxers. But I think there also should be room for spontaneity, and finding that balance is challenging. And that's one of the things I like about the like I know I always bring up Breaking Bad, but I listen to what the writers say, and they mentioned something about uh, not really planning ahead so much. Like they had certain things that they wanted, but then the key question they would ask themselves is, where is our character's head at? Like where is, what's Javen thinking about? What's Atana thinking about? What's Kayla thinking about in this very moment? And what can we build from there? And what I've noticed, what I actually just realized this today, what that does is it creates a sense of like that spontaneity, and it almost makes it so your audience can't fully predict what's going to happen. Like that something's going to happen, but I think it also increases the level of suspense when you can do stuff like that. So I highly recommend considering those aspects whenever you're talking about creating your project or your story. But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with that advice? Or do you have other advice that could work for avoiding plot holes and things of that nature? Let me know, or let us know rather, because we can all learn. My goal is to read Atomic Habits. Mine too. I started that book back in like January or February, and I stopped after like 2 chapters because I started moving. I got a job and all that, and it's in my shelf. I could literally pull it out and show you guys in the next like 15 seconds. But I got to get better at it. It's this book that talks about the pottery store where 2 groups of students were graded based number of pots or one really good pot. The ones who made more made better stuff. Oh, so you're basically the idea of doing things over and over and over again versus one really amazing project getting better. Yeah, that makes sense. It's the whole 2500 challenge. For those of you guys who know, I've talked about it before. At least I think I have. But we have several 2500 finishers, but the whole concept, just to put it briefly, is drawing 1000 heads, 500 arms, 500 legs, 250 hands, 250 feet in the course of a calendar year. And the idea is to just grow exponentially in that time. And every single time I've seen someone do that, they have grown significantly. And so it's the same kind of logic there. Instead of just doing one drawing for like 12 hours and expecting to get better from that. Like I've seen it in my own life. Like there were college classes I took on anatomy, which anatomy is probably my strongest artistic skill. But I struggled afterwards after I took a class in anatomy, because what we would do is we would focus on doing 1 or 2 drawings a week and doing it super finely rendered, but you don't really remember where the muscles are after that. You have a hard time placing things, and it becomes really, really difficult. At least for me, it did. And so, yeah, I'm just keeping that in mind. I've always been jealous of the movie Limitless. I'll put the link in the live stream channel, the Discord. Yes, Megan, please do. Remember when we made that roast video together? That was so much work for like 30 seconds of video. I do remember that. Well, you talking about Michael's roast video? That video wasn't 30 seconds. That was like a 2.5 minute video. Yeah, it was a pretty decent length. Imagine being the short kid sitting behind Gerald from Hey Arnold. As a short kid, all I can say is pain. Oh my goodness, y'all have been through it. It sounds like y'all have had a rough time. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. Okay, so as far as these go, and I don't even think these have to be like 100% like perfectly clean or anything like that. I just want to get the idea across, and then I'll just have fun and start. Like I want to teach myself to be a little bit more playful with my line work, because I notice that sometimes I can get very uptight with my sketches, and it ends up making things worse. And I don't like doing that. I really don't. So that's that's a goal of mine for 2024, I guess you could say. Let's see, how can we get this roof? What's the best way? I guess this is a good angle right here. Yeah, we'll do that. Let's switch up the song real quick. I took that anatomy class too, not in Jordan's section though, and it is so true. I do think muscle drawers are one of the best ways to learn anatomy, but you should be doing hundreds. Yeah, you have to do it a ton. Like I would tell people all the time, like if doing the 1,000 heads, I would tell people like I didn't get comfortable to like my 800th or something like that. It was really, really far down the line. What the heck? This thing's got like a hole in it or something. One draw over of the armpit isn't going to teach you the muscles, especially when we used our own photos a lot and none of us were super buff. That's so true. That is so true. Yeah, I probably wasn't the best reference for myself, admittedly, because you can't see things. Like that's one thing I tell my students all the time is like, hey, if you're going to draw people with, if you're going to learn to draw the muscles, probably draw someone who's very buff. You know, so I tell people all the time, draw gymnasts, draw. That tangent is horrible, isn't it? Draw gymnasts, draw basketball players, or sports figures, anything like that, because you could see the muscles much more clearly than you would otherwise. I guess that's still kind of a tangent, but we can fix that later. It's fine. We'll be all right. Get some of these trees. These happy little trees right over here. So here I'm going to try and be a little more organic, especially in the foreground. That's one of the things I noticed about like perspective assignments and stuff. You can usually tell it's a perspective assignment because all the lines are super like stiff and they don't look enjoyable at all, which is why I pulled up the reference from here. Like if you look really closely, a lot of these lines, they're not super clean. You know, this is professional work for a show, right? Like look at some of these lines. They are quick, really, really quick and gestural. Here, let me find another city drawing. Where's that one I just was using at the beginning? Oh, here's a good one. Wait, where'd the page go? It disappeared on me. Where was it? This one. Let me see. If we look really close, it looks like the horizontal and vertical lines are straight, but all the other ones, they're a lot more rough than you would imagine. So I'm trying to take a cue from, who's the artist on this one? What's it say? By William Nanking New. I don't know. Someone tell me how to say this last name. My mother is 6'1". Whoa. Brothers are 6'3" and 6'5.5", and I'm down here at 5'5". It was a nightmare for me when we went on vacations in a two-door car. My LOL knees were everywhere. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. That is that's something. To go back to the storytelling thing, the thing I have learned from so many things that have prequels is to not have the prequel setting look more advanced than the original story. That takes me out of any story. Like, was this always here, or is this, or if this was a thing, why didn't they use it? Yeah, that's a good point. You have to be really, really tight on prequels, and that might be why a lot of them don't work, is because they don't plan for them. Um, that's just one of those things that you have to be really, really careful of, and just making sure that you understand the depths of what's really happening. Um, Drawers are really nice for muscle insertion points too, because when you start factoring in all the angle stuff gets complicated. Yes, it's super important to know that stuff. Ballet dancers are incredibly muscular too. Yes, that's a good point. My cousin's a ballet dancer, and uh, like the poses that she's able to make in terms of gestures is incredible. Like it's fantastic. And then again, you have to be very muscular to do that stuff, or at least very strong. I have some reference packs of ballet dancers there, truly built different. Q is read with a ch sound. Oh, okay. So new is pronounced neo. Okay, so let me say William Nanxing Neo. Was that it? Did I do it right? I hope I did it right. Okay, so let's find some more reference of like roofs and stuff. Now I think we're at a point where I can just start adding some pretty little details. I want to find high quality stuff. Okay. So I like how a lot of these have kind of roof hangover things. I don't know what you would call them necessarily, but they're not exactly roofs all the time. So I might build some and build some here and things like that. We shall see. This is the border. Let's lock that. Let's turn this off. And not looking too bad. Not too bad. Let me go to my Pinterest board too. Here. Actually, let me do this on another page just in case work stuff shows up. Give me 1 second, y'all. Here we go. Oh, where'd it go? It slid onto the other page. All right, so I'm gonna create another layer and just start drawing new stuff on top. Might even cut into some things a little bit. What in the world? Wrong brush. There we go. Yeah, be careful to not create a bunch of tangents and stuff either. I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'm going for or doing right now. I'm just experimenting at this point. Let's have a nice balcony right here. I want to have it. Maybe like this. Actually, warp that. Let's turn to this. And I'll move this up. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Yeah. LMAO, get NDA. Exactly right. Bernice, you know I gotta watch out. Someone do a Shadowboxers oil painting. That would be sick. I don't know how you would get the glow to work, but that would be sick. Although that's why I did a separate Pinterest account for work. I forgot to do that. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I appreciate the advice. So if my current story is in the year 2034 of the future, how long would I set the prequel to not have the setting so advanced? I know it's from Mark, but I wonder if I can answer too. Well, usually prequels happen before the current story, so as long as it's before the year 2034, I think that should be fine. I think it depends on your story. Just make sure that if your world made flying cars in 2030, they wouldn't be a thing in 2025. Some buildings wouldn't exist, and so on. Yeah, just think of it like a timeline. Matter of fact, I had to create a timeline for Shadowboxers too, where I put very significant events like different wars, the founding of different societies and groups, and when this settlement happened and when this character was born and stuff like that. I had to do all those things. So if it's, I think I know what will be a really good treat for you all. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it though? It was really, really helpful stuff. Here we go. Black Panther reference. So about a year, maybe 2 years ago, I found this thing. It was a webinar with Ruth Carter, and she did the costume design for the Black Panther film. And I snuck these screenshots. But basically, what she was showing here was the Wakandan history. So here, birth of Wakanda, 8000 BC. Bashenga unifies the bowing tribes under one nation and transitions the tribes from warriors to craftsmen. First to use vibranium, breaks it into spear tips, and then it goes through the entire history of the world. So let's see, in year 700, discovering the limits of vibranium. Vibranium can be destroyed when exposed to certain frequencies, light, heat, and radiation, converting its matter to energy. There was one that was, here we go. Vibranium used for superconductors, fusion reactors, computers, and particle colliders in the year 1424. So combining the history of the real world with what Wakanda was doing, it shows just how advanced they really are. So I recommend creating something kind of like this. And I think that would really, really help you. Those things that I screenshot from here. So I have a bunch of stuff. Well, not a bunch, but I have 4 images. Let me see. Okay. So this one was all about the statistics in Wakanda, the Golden City, vibranium, the government, the statistics of different groups like the Golden Tribe, Mining Tribe, 2 million people, 800,000, 900,000, 1 million people for the Border Tribe, all that kind of stuff. This might be a little overkill for what you're trying to do. And honestly, it might even be overkill for the Black Panther film itself. But I just I show this as an example of what you can do with this, because world building is it can become so complex and overwhelming. But this is the stuff that helped me think about Shadowboxers. Like, what do each of these cultures believe? How would that influence the technology? How would that influence their religion? How would that influence the mindset of the people? Do they all kind of have a general mindset? Like, for example, you guys might have heard, like, for people from other countries or foreigners, they'll say Americans think like XYZ. There's a certain status quo that's expected. Obviously, there's outliers or people who think differently, but generally speaking, America might think a certain way, or Germany might think a certain way, or Brazil might think a certain way. So you can consider all of that when you are when you're building out your world. Okay, this one was just for the Dora Milaje, I think, their costume, and So I found that very, very helpful. I had to screenshot that, and Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Um, uh, let's see. We call those flat roofs lage. They are flat roofs you can easily come up to and just hang out and have a view from the top. Oh, that's pretty awesome. I like that. Um, does the Cora poster count as a hydration thing? Where was the poster? What poster? I'm really confused. Okay. Let's see here. See, I don't know how clean this is going to be. But I don't know if that's my intention either. It was a thumbnail in your Finder before you show us the history of Wakanda. I don't think that counts. I don't think that counts, man. You can feel free to drink water, though. I'm not going to tell you don't. Not going to do that to you. Here, you know what I can do? Change things up a little bit. Let's have some roofs that come at an angle. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. And this one here, I should probably pull that out a little bit more. So later on, I can go back in and really clean up these perspective lines on the grid for all the buildings and stuff. Right now, I just want to cut in and just make some cool looking shapes. Just make it look like a place that's lived in. Had to be a structure like this here. Sneaky Jordan. I have to revisit my timeline. Mark of Art, thanks for your feedback also. Although there's no flying cars, but I will keep that in mind for things in my world. Yeah, just treat it like you were actually living there. Like, and again, you don't have to go as far as creating something as complex as our planet. Like what we experience on Earth, there's so many complexities that it's just overwhelming. I don't think you would ever be able to recreate it. Just recreate it in the context of what's important for your story. So there might be something that's just not important to know. Like for example, in the Hunger Games, the only place they talk about is North America. I don't know if you guys realize that, but like it just seems like no other continent exists for whatever reason, and it just is. We just accept it. So if that's the case for your story, or if that's something that works for your story, just worry about that. Worry about the things that are important, and chances are, if you think about, I would say basics of, I'll just write this down. I would say basics of their religion, their politics, basic historic figures or historical moments. So that could include war, that could include figures in history like Abraham Lincoln or Gandhi or Joan of Arc, like certain specific figures like that. And then maybe their technology. I think once you can answer the basics of those four things, everything else tends to fall into place. I wouldn't worry so much about whether or not your character likes pepperoni pizza or not. I think these are, in terms of role building, those are the most important things that I can think of. But I'm curious, do you guys have other things that are important for you when you're world building? Like, is there something else that you would consider that is incredibly significant? Because I don't want this to be an exhaustive list, but I just think once you cover those first things, that would really work. And with the example of like the flying car situation that Mark and Neftali were talking about, that falls into the tech category, right? So yeah, so you just want to make sure that all that is squared away. Because even with things like shadow boxers, like try to figure out like what's going on with their technology and stuff too. Like they have very specific abilities, and it also has influenced the technology that they have created. So I have to say things or think of things like, okay, would this exist in their world? Would they have regular cars or would they not? Would they have this if they didn't have the technology to do this? So there's a lot of details that that can be considered in this aspect. No, that's not looking good. Something here. It's going to be empty space. I'll put these little X's here to indicate that. That's one trick in animation that they do when they have someone with like really long hair or whatever. They might just put X's in there to indicate that there's an empty space. Mostly for people like the colorists and stuff. So I'm going to do that there too. That'd be an empty space right there. Mark, you're like a cyber detective who finds the location of a criminal based on a photo with a particular tablecloth in it. I think history and tech do most of the heavy lifting. Yeah, I would say so too. History and tech would do most of it because that just covers so much. Because things like culture are also inspired by that. You know, like uh, here, I'll give you a little bit of history. Um, are you guys aware that Catholicism is directly related to the inspiration or the inception of hip hop music? You guys may not know that. A lot of that comes from um, the like basically a couple hundred years ago when they were slaves. There was something called the Louisiana Purchase where they bought the land, and slaves were not allowed to typically, showcase their uh, or practice their religions. And what they would do because they're so frustrated with the hold that the Catholic Church had on them, they would disguise dances as like worship services or worship services as dances. And from the music that they would play there, it started off as being, it basically sounded like their ancient voodoo worship, but they changed the lyrics to make it sound like Christian music. And then later on, people would kind of reinterpret the music. And then that's where you get things like, what's the first genre? Ragtime was really popular. Then you get things like the blues, and then jazz came out of that. Later on in the 50s, you got rock and roll. Reggae music comes from the music. Actually, reggae, the inspiration of reggae is actually really funny to me because what would happen is in places like Jamaica and the islands, they would hear the rock and roll that would be played on the radio, but the reception wasn't very good, and so it would cut out at certain points. And they thought that's what music sounded like. So when they made their own music, they recreated it in a way where it sounded like what they thought American music was. And so and that's why reggae music always has that kind of pause in the middle. It kind of has that interesting like pause or what you call it, hesitation. But that's really where it comes from. And then from that, you get hip hop music, which comes sometime later because hip hop came directly from mixing up things like soul music from the 60s and 70s and earlier than that. So, you know, so there's a lot more detail that I could give. I'm not as fresh on the history at the moment because it's been several years since I looked into it. I've done a whole study on it before though, but that's basically like one of those moments where culture and history and religion all kind of combine into something. So it's really fascinating how that stuff works, you know? Let's see. If we can have some things connecting. That's so funny about reggae music. So it's telephoned rock. I can't wait to use this info on some people. Yeah, look it up, guys. It's literally how they created reggae music. It was basically playing telephone and someone messing up because the wires weren't strong enough at that time. So yeah, that's where it came from. But yeah, who would have thought that the Catholic Church would have been directly responsible for, pretty much all the modern music we listen to today, um, at least in America. I know that all those genres are incredibly popular, So yeah, it's just kind of one of those bizarre facts that's just like, huh, who would have thought? And that's why world building can be interesting. So the other thing too, since we keep talking about it, don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel. Like take a piece of history and repurpose it. I've done that several times. Like there are so many. Like I've taken a lot of inspiration from things in the Dark Ages, especially for certain like groups in my world. Most of them, or I don't even think any of them I've talked about on the streams or anything. That's story stuff that you guys will find out later. Or what's that Mickey Mouse meme? It's a secret object we'll worry about later. What is that one? You guys know what I'm talking about? It's a surprise we'll use for later. Whatever he says. It's one of those things. But anyway, I took a lot of inspiration from things like the Dark Ages or things from thousands of years ago. And some of it is common history, some of it's not so common, but directly inspired what I'm building. So it's good enough for me. Good enough for me. So right now what I'm doing, I'm just adding complexity to a lot of these buildings because as you guys saw, it was just a bunch of little squares and cubes. Now it's a lot more interesting and unique. And of course I can always clean it up even more. Probably will. But this is where we're at right now. And again, backgrounds is not the first thing I choose to work on typically. So a lot of this stuff is kind of out of my comfort zone. But you know what? I don't know who said it earlier today in the stream, but it's something we all can practice. I gotta practice getting out of my comfort zone too. So, what did Cusco say in Emperor's New Groove? Bring it on, right? Bring it on. Right before the waterfall scene. I like having these writing discussions with you guys. It's always a lot of fun. Um, who here has more questions about like writing stuff? Because I'm all in the trenches right now because I'm actively looking at scripts, and like last night I was reading scripts and watching the show or the movie just to see how things lined up and like what made it work. The challenge is a lot of the scripts you find online are shooting scripts, and they're not necessarily the scripts that they went to film with. Oftentimes those scripts are edited after the fact to match what's in the film exactly. But it is what it is. Um, as a Louisianian, Zydeco was also invented with that influence. What is Zydeco? I've never heard of that. That sounds really cool though. Zydeco. No. But music genre from Southland. Huh. I'm gonna keep this tab open just so I can do research on it later. Thank you, Amanda. For feather cleanse, I took influence from how Africans use hibiscus flowers to make tea, and that provides the base for my character's powers, using certain flowers to make drinks and protecting it. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, do that. Take from, like, here's the thing. There's certain things that people just don't own. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are some rich people who just own the color blue, but unless if it's a piece of history, if it's a piece of culture in the world, history, just common domain. Is it common domain? I don't think that's the exact term. Public domain. That's the word I'm thinking for. Yeah, public domain. Then just steal it. Go for it. Now, obviously, if you're taking things like, if you're gonna say, I'm making a story about a little boy who's home alone for Halloween and not Christmas, it's a whole different thing. That's where it becomes either parody or plagiarism, depending on the context. Bernice says, got any script recs? I got plenty. So here, let me go to my file. I actually have a whole thing right here, a whole folder of sample scripts. You can find these pretty easily online. Just say like script downloads PDF or something. You'll find a bunch of websites. Let's see. I got Avengers Endgame right here. And you don't even have to look at the entire thing. Like, this is a long movie, for example, but you can just look at certain scenes that really hit you. You could look this one from Back to the Future. I haven't read the whole thing, but I looked at it. First off, the format is not correct. I don't know where I got this, but the script format is not correct. But I noticed this isn't the same that thing that they shot with. If you watch the movie, you know that this scene does not exist in the film. So, yeah, let's see. I got Mean Girls, Iron Man, Monsters Inc. The Incredibles is a great script. Where's that one? I think that's down here. Yeah, The Incredibles. And then studying like studying the look of it. So one thing I've learned is that, screenplays have kind of two purposes. One is for the reader to be invested in so they can read it, sort of like a novel. But then there's also the fact that it's going to be shot on film. But even when you're looking at it, there's certain things I notice. One thing that is very common, you'll notice that the dialogue is only like one or two lines. Not all the time. Like I just passed by something. This is 4 lines of dialogue here. Then there's this long bit from Mr. Incredible. But there's a lot of moments where it's just simple one sentence going back and forth. You can learn a lot about a character by the way they talk. And then also just, making things very short and concise. That's something that I would often struggle with when I was writing essays in school, is making things concise. A lot of it was for word count purposes. I needed that extra buffer. But I would make I'll be able to find a way to make he walked to the store into a 30 word sentence somehow. And it would sound beautiful too. But with scripts, you want to make it really, really concise. Um, and and just learning basic rules like formatting. Um, you know, the idea of a page represents a minute of screen time. But yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Stranger Things, Hunger Games. Um, Obviously, I got a whole folder of Spider-Man and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse right here. That's this one. Um, like, and if you guys don't believe me, Miles gotta go in a minute. Gotta go in a minute. Rio smothers and embarrassed Miles with kisses. Miles rolls his eyes, hates it, loves it. Miles, Mom, I gotta go. So like, it's just fun seeing those little character moments. Louisiana history is fascinating with all the French and Spanish, West Indies, African, even Canadian influences. So cool. Give me your scripts, Jordan. Let me poke holes in them so you can patch them up. I'm offering a service. Jeez. I just might. Let me work on it first. Let me see what holes I can figure out on my own. The way I work is I need time for myself to just look through it. I don't like getting feedback too early on because it kind of messes with me a little bit. I need to be able to fully understand what it is I'm trying to get across, because I noticed in the past, this is just me, I've always kind of made things like half baked, and then I would present it to people and then they wouldn't understand all the things I wanted. But when the time is right, you guys will all be able to read it in its final form. The dialogue in Scandal was like 3 pages. I'm not sure, Ella, but if you listen to Papa Pope, you think the same. I only saw a little bit of Scandal. My mom was really into that show when it came out. I didn't really watch it. I think because I think it's mostly because I wasn't the audience for it. I was like 16 when it came out. Anyway, Megan says, yes, I remember a small story about a screenwriter who could tell whether a script was worth reading based on the density of the lines. Yeah, because no one likes reading blocks of text. You know what I mean? Like, even in the scripts that I was showing you guys, you'll notice how often things are broken up, right? Like, you have this quote here from Spidey. Uncle Ben tells Peter, Uncle Ben walks into the beyond. And a lot of these are also vivid enough to, be able to understand and capture visually very easily, but it also leaves room for interpretation, I think, which is fun. Like, I don't think you want to necessarily lock in all the shots unless it's super important. Like, actually, one shot that was very specific was the shot of Miles kind of floating up during the leap of faith scene. Let me see if I can find it. Why this last one? Okay, I think it's just before this. So I just want to show you guys. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Miles walks to the edge of the roof, the wind buffeting, and leaps. The camera is upside down. Miles isn't falling through frame. He's rising. So that shot was specified in the script itself, and that's a very key moment. So in situations like that, I think it's fine to like write exactly what you envision, but generally speaking, it's very open. So yeah, keep that in mind. Thanks, Jordan. I will go research. Go do the research, Bernice. Go for it. Yeah, no problem. And I think it's really a good idea to read them. First off, just read them by yourself, especially if it's a movie you've seen before or that you would recognize. I would read it first after you've seen it, and then watch it alongside the script and just see how different things are interpreted. Because sometimes actors will change things because of just the emotion of it. So, for example, you'll often find something called a beat, which basically is a short pause. That's a way of saying a short pause. And they'll say things like a beat passes and then character A says blah blah blah. And some situations that beat doesn't even exist because the actors are just doing their thing. They're feeling through it, and it doesn't quite register the same way. So yeah, there's moments like that. There's what else is yeah. I mean, I'm not a professional script writer by any means, but it is very fascinating, and I think it's really good to like at least read them because I imagine most of you guys are going to do comics, or you have an idea or desire to do comics at some point in the near future if you're not already. And I think that being able to look at a script at something that's a visual medium like that is very helpful. Oftentimes it's hard to find scripts for comics. I do have an example here. I've been meaning to read through it actually. I found this in the bookstore. Here, I'll just show my screen. This was something I found in Barnes and Noble. This is a Black Panther script to page writing comics book. Admittedly, I don't really read Black Panther comics. Like I don't have any on my shelf or anything like that. But if you look at the format, it's very similar to what I was just describing. So you have your the only real difference is you have the panels that are listed. Sorry, it's getting blurry at some points, guys. Not much I can do about that, but it'll say like panel 1, panel 2, panel 3. So you could totally do that for your comic and say this is exactly what I want for this panel, or you can have it be something that's a little bit different. In my case, I'm experimenting with the format I want, and right now I don't even have it listed out by panel because I want to see if I feel more creative by just picking how many shots I want after the fact. If I just write it out and I say several shots of them doing parkour in the favelas, and that could be 4 panels, it could be 1 panel, it could be 2 panels. I don't know. It just depends on the flow of everything. So I don't want to completely pigeonhole myself, at least not at this stage. I assume that later on I'll probably switch around or change up methods based on the comic, but it is possible to have your own style. It's possible to have your own look and feeling to your projects. But yeah, I would just study things just like anything else, Megan says, hi, Brian Stelfreeze art. Yes, that was Brian Stelfreeze. The way he said Zydeco. Did I say it incorrectly? In seriousness, there's Cajun music and Zydeco, 2 different genres. Jeffrey Broussard and the Creole Cowboys, Dwayne Dopsy. Can't blame me for pronouncing it incorrectly if I've never seen the word before. Sorry. But I'm glad you found it amusing at least. Has anyone else heard of that besides Amanda? Because I don't know what that is. I didn't even know. Something else I would highly recommend when it comes to scripts is watch interviews of writers. Watch interviews of writers and see how they craft things, especially things you're a big fan of. And I don't know if you guys would know this, but all the scripts that I have here are movies that I've actually seen and like. So, for example, How to Train Your Dragons 1 and 2, I, Robot, Mean Girls, Monsters Inc., Mulan, No Country for Old Men, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Sherlock Holmes from 2009, The Shining from the Jack Nicholson version. So like all those scripts that I have are for movies that I like, and the reason I recommend that is because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a class, like a classic film class, where you're forced to watch things from like 85 years ago and you just don't care. I think it's hard to learn things that way sometimes if you don't care about them. Not to say you shouldn't watch, older stuff, because I think you can learn a lot from them, but I think it has to be something you're interested in order for it to really sink in. And so I recommend not just copying the script list that I have. I recommend looking at stuff that you genuinely like. and then studying what the writers say about how they created certain things or what their thought process was, and then see what you can pull from it. It doesn't have to be any sort of rocket science or anything. It's just simply creating something that's unique to you. So yeah, I think you can have a ton of fun with that. Kathy's, I've heard of it. Mark says Zydeco sounds like a cough syrup. The emphasis is on the Zy, right? 1 and 3, and wait, and your cough will be gone in 5 days. Are you saying 3 times a day and your cough will be gone in 5 days? Yep, and the got to be a fan of the accordion. I don't even know what you're talking about. I have to learn how to read/write scripts because I'm used to the prose and novels. Yeah, that's totally different. That's a totally different medium. Like I actually have a lot more sympathy for writers, for screenwriters now, when it comes to adapting things like books into movies and shows, because it's very, very difficult. It's so different. You have to use the visual language to communicate something. Like an author can write a novel in prose and describe the smell of something for half a page. In film, you can't really do that. So you have to find another way to make that work if it's even important. If something smells bad, you might just be like, "Oh, this place stinks." Or if it smells good, like, "Oh, that smells lovely," right? You might just turn it into that. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So I have a lot of respect for those guys. Lots of respect. I kind of like this balcony that's kind of crooked like that. Can I copy that? Can I copy you, please? When you think about it, hundreds of people need to see a film script to make a movie. In comics, you could have only 1 to 3 people who see the actual script. It doesn't need to be as codified. That's true. That's a really good point. Okay, maybe not hundreds. I don't know the exact number, but more than 2, which is how many look at mine, including myself. Yeah. Well, for a film, it's a bigger production, right? Like, as the comic artist, assuming you're both the writer and the artist, you have to be the cinematographer, the director, the writer, the actor for multiple characters. You have to be the prop designer, typically, the background designer, like all these different things. You have to be combined in one. For a film, Megan's absolutely right. You have to be in part of a team. It's very hard to act and hold up the mic and hold the camera and do all this different stuff. That just really that's all incredibly important. It's a team effort, and every filmmaker who's worth his salt or worth her salt will tell you that that's how they have to construct things, and they can't do it just by themselves. And sometimes writers don't even come up with all the ideas for characters. Or sometimes the actors will do things begrudgingly because they don't see it right. And like, I was listening to or it was either listening or reading something. I think it was reading something. It was about Jenna Ortega in the show Wednesday, and how she would often go off script because she felt like there are certain things that the writers had that wouldn't fit Wednesday's character. Because if you've seen the show, you would know that she's very emotionless. She's very dry, very witty, in a lot of ways. Like, or maybe not witty, but snappy. And I guess they put in scenes in the scripts that would make her feel like she has more emotion. And she's like, that's not her character. I can't do that and maintain the integrity of who Wednesday is. And it's so, there's oftentimes a lot of fights that come about with stuff like that. But that's the name of the game. That's how it works, guys. That's how that works. Y'all, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were on a different subject. I was frozen. Didn't know anyone was talking. um, that's funny. But why male models? Wait, what? I am so confused. Did I miss something, Megan? What are you talking about? Um, I recently read a graphic novel that had a lot of prose. It was done as a stream of conscience from the main character. So that sounds like a creative choice that could actually work. Here's the thing: any and everything is possible. Like you don't have to follow any of the rules, really. Like actually, I saw one script. I don't have it because I was admittedly watching a YouTube video, but it was trying to convey the suspense of a certain moment, and for like 4 pages, it had one line of text. It was like a guy walking to a door, and it was it finished off the page full of text, and then it said, and he inched closer, and then it's like a completely blank page after that, and then he inched closer, and then the text gets bigger, and bigger and bigger, and it fills up the whole page just like one word, like run or slam or something like that. And it's one of those creative choices that it's risky, because it doesn't follow the exact format. But whatever it was, I know that movie got made. So, you know, I'm not sure if you guys are even interested in becoming like Hollywood writers or directors or anything like that. I can't really speak to that per se. What that world is like. I know several writers, and they've talked to me about their process and things like that. But it's definitely one of those things that if you're an artist and you want to create your own projects, I think learning how to write scripts isn't going to be incredibly valuable to you. Because I'll tell you what, I've been in situations where I didn't know how to write, even for shadowbox, especially for shadowboxes. Actually, I didn't really know what to convey, and there were times where I've had serious struggles because I didn't know what I wanted to say. I couldn't take over the writing. I had to have someone else do it for me, and relying on that, and then not being able to convey your vision clearly, because that was my mistake. I didn't know how to convey my story properly. It can become a real hindrance. It can really mess you up. So yeah, to be very protective of your projects and make sure that you yourself know the craft well enough where you can convey what you want if you decide to work with or hire someone else. That's all I can say. Netflix says, I love Wednesday Addams. Yeah, she was fun. Any recommendations for graphic novels? I don't think I've ever read one. I just read one called Isumboshi by Ryan Lang. Ryan Lang, he worked on like Moana and stuff. And I actually talk about the book in my latest YouTube video. Matter of fact, here, if you guys don't know, I did upload a video just the other day, and it is on my Lightbox art haul. And basically just talking about all the art that I picked up from Lightbox. Came out a little bit late, admittedly. I will freely admit that. But I bring up the book there. And anyway, the one issue I have with that book was it felt so fast-paced, and there were times where the exposition was so heavy-handed. It was actually kind of shocking. It was like all of this history in like one dialogue, and it just bothered me. I don't know if that's because the person working on it is doing all the drawings. The book was long. It was like 100-some pages, 200-some pages. And I get that. But at the same time, it's like, man, for the sake of the story, I wish it could have been paced out a little bit better, but it is what it is. I thought it worked very well, and I was very interested in the style because it's not something I've often seen in comics or graphic novels. It was A Guest in the House by Emily Carroll. Let me see. Yes, haha, Jordan. Jordan, it's a film, and the moment is one of the funniest in the movie, but actually Ben Stiller just forgot his line, so he repeated the last one, and the other actors played along. Oh, that's called ad-libbing. That's awesome. Any other details on what you like and don't like? I've read a lot of comments. She has. Trust me, I've seen her bookshelf. Have you read by Roya Akupe Malika? I think I know what that is. Wait, let me see. I've seen this in stores. I never actually read it, and I think I follow them on Instagram. Is it good? I like the look of it, but I've never actually like sat down and read it. So, do you recommend it, Neftali? With superpowers, I don't know. I'm not too into a lot of the superheroes. I do love Moon Knight, but the storylines I've read, the only ones worth anything are by Warren Ellis and Jeff Lemire. Kathy says, "Go watch the latest video." Thank you, Kathy. Did anyone watch Blue Eye Samurai? I heard the writing is good for that. I just saw that come up on Netflix the other day. I want to watch. I didn't even know what it was. I put it on my list though. Not sure if the Kabuki series by David Mack counts as superpowers, but it's excellent. It's really interesting later in the series because he's not afraid to use many different styles. Let's see. Anything with a good story I'll read. I specified superpowers because I like to see how people depict them in words. One thing I will say when it comes to anything related to story, especially when writing, just make sure we care about your characters. Oh, that tangent is awful. Ugh, I gotta work on that. Let's just move it forward. Who cares? I would say you definitely want to have a way to make sure we really truly care about who your characters are. Otherwise, it doesn't even have to be a good guy. People. One thing I really don't like using anymore is heroes and villains. I don't like saying that so much because a protagonist and a hero don't have to be the same thing. Like the Joker is not a hero, but he can be the protagonist, right? So, or Venom or something, right? So, think about who your protagonist is, make them relatable, make us care about them. And that can be done in many ways. You can make them admirable. Maybe there's something about them that we should desire and strive to be like someone who's super confident, or someone who like Iron Man, Tony Stark, right? He's a very overconfident, rich playboy billionaire. He's living the dream, basically, and then suddenly, he's hit with the bomb, or a missile or whatever, and he has this heart condition, and we see how his life changes because of that. And Robert Downey Jr. also does an incredible job because he's an amazing actor, right? But make us care. And then for antagonists or villains, I would say whatever you do, make it so that they are not the villains in their world. I wouldn't make it so that, this is just me. I don't like mustache twirly villains. What I mean by that is villains who just feel like they're evil for the sake of being evil, just because the plot needs it, and not giving them a proper reasoning. And it really, they could be the most evil, cynical people ever, but as long as you understand why they do these things, it actually makes it a lot better. So like one thing I've been watching lately or rewatching is Criminal Minds. And it's fascinating to me because one, it's just a very well-made show. I'm not saying everyone here can stomach that show because there's a lot of violence in there. But one thing I noticed is that they, for the people who don't know about the show, it's about people trying to solve murder mysteries and crimes. Specifically, the behavioral analysis unit of the FBI. What that means is they basically analyze their suspect in a way that is so specific to them that they go back to like what's their past trauma, what experiences that they had, what things trigger them, like those sorts of things. And it really kind of paints a picture for these characters who are evil characters, but in a way it makes sense for them. Doesn't make it moral, but it makes sense. And so something like that I think is really valuable to study for the sake of writing characters and making sure that they are believable. Let's see, missed a couple comments. Malika does feel very much like a Marvel DC superhero story, worth trying for sure. I thought it was fun, but I didn't personally get super invested since I don't do stuff like that. That's fair. That makes sense. I see a lot of people recommending stuff. Pretty Deadly by Kelly Sue, Deconic, how do you say that? And Emma Rios is excellent. The first volume is a Western, and the rest of the series follows a couple characters throughout history. Let me see. I'd have liked for them to think of going forward with the story, but to tie up the first season. Wait, did I miss something? Oh, Blue Eyed Samurai. I guess that's what you're talking about. Um, yeah, yeah. Okay. So here I'm gonna add a couple of like textures. Just so it doesn't feel too blank, too bland. Because in reality, the world has texture, right? If you ever look at cement, there's little holes in them. I'm trying to kind of convey that here. Maybe even little chips kind of coming off. Okay. And then even here, I can add little things like little towels people hang over the balcony. Like, I don't know if you guys do that, but I often hang things to dry over the balcony on a clothes or put them on a clothesline or something. Little things like satellites in here. Break off a little piece of the roof. Yeah, so I can do a ton of things to just add little bits of detail here and there. That'll make this really fun. I plan to color this at some point. I don't know what style it'll be in. I don't know if it's going to be like a full painting or just flat color, but I do plan to do something like that. Really like how these are set up. All these kind of panels, wood panels and stuff. So let's see if we can put that in a couple places. For the sake of it, let's put those panels up here too. I might actually push that building back, avoid that tangent there. I am my own tangent police. I really am kind of neurotic when it comes to that. I don't know why. While I have all you artists here, I have a problem. I have made a 3D render and I want to paint over it so it doesn't look 3D. How do I do that? I have made some attempts, but the parts I painted ended up looking too cartoony. How would you do that? Let's see. Let's paint over it so it doesn't look 3D. You know what you can do, Mark? Why don't you put that in the chat in the Joe McFo fam Discord, and we can all talk about it. But what I would say is it's probably going to look cartoony at first when you're doing flats, but then you want to add things like light and shadow. So if we go here for a moment, I don't think I have any like process shots necessarily, but if I were to, let's say, where's the before and after on here? Yeah. Okay, so here we have the drawing on the left and the painting on the right. If I were to go about this, let's say that your line work was the 3D model. First thing I would do is I would just start figuring out the local color of everything, sort of like paint by numbers. And then I would start doing the rendering and figuring out where the lighting is coming from. And I think that's where it's going to start coming to life. Once you add the shadows, then you can add the, the various planes and making round surfaces round, straight surfaces straight, all that kind of stuff. And then adding little things like the rim light or highlights, things like that to really make it shine. Then obviously texture for things, whether it's metal, wood, grass, rock, anything like that, I think will help. Let me see. I'd like it to be more painterly without slapping all the filters on it. Yeah, save the filters and stuff for the very end. I think paint as much as possible and then add filters if you need it. But I don't think you do. You probably don't. What I recommend also, you can use the selection tool to select a very specific like wall or something like that, or surface, and then you could just paint on top of that. There's several really good artists who paint. Oh, I know exactly what to show you. There's an artist, her name is Devin L. Kurtz, and she's absolutely phenomenal. I love her work. And she has a YouTube channel where she talks about how to paint buildings. So she actually starts off with a 3D mock-up, just like this. And here she is sketching it out. But you could see that she's kind of placing her flats in and her windows and things like that. And after a certain point, then she starts adding things like her shadows and separating the groups out, and it really starts to come alive. So I highly recommend this video. Matter of fact, I'll put this in our Discord right now before I even forget. I'll put it in the general chat. And then hopefully that helps you to have some sort of leeway to go on. Netflix says, well, I have to go now because I have to get lots of sleep for my final. No problem, Netflix. Thank you so much for coming on. We're going to wrap up in a couple minutes anyway. Bernice also says you got to head out. Fun stream, Jordan. Good night. Thank you, Bernice, for coming on. Amanda says no tangents and no capes. No capes. Although according to Ginger Cell, Asim kind of has a cape, I guess, but that's not why he gets abducted. But it's more nuanced than that. Trust me. Yeah, there's one nice building in the corner over here next to all these favelas. Okay, this is actually looking pretty cool. Kind of liking how these buildings are shaping up. Obviously, I'll have to do another layer cleanup on top, but this is just good practice for me because I really need to work on my environment skills. Just that they take so freaking long. Yeah, I mean, characters take long too, but I've always found characters more fun. I was just about to do that, Jordan. Don't be afraid to boss your interns around. Hey, I forgot. Sorry. I was just so into it. My bad. By that, I mean putting her YouTube channel in the Discord. Interns. Hey, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is, right? Thank you, Megan, for being so on top of things. Let's see. This is not right. This should be like this. Yeah. Put that in the right perspective. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, this is starting to come together, I think. A couple hours left on this, but what I might do, admittedly, guys, I might try and finish up the line work before we come back for the next stream. I think this video is it saving the time lapse? It is not. It is not recording the time lapse, but we have these. So maybe I'll hit the record time lapse for later on, and I'll show you guys the process for it. But at this point, I'm basically just adding little details here and there, trying to make it feel like a place that's more lived in, so it's not just blocks everywhere. I mean, look at places like this. Like, this is so fascinating to me to see how people can construct something like this and then find a way to live here. I don't know if it's a comfortable living. Admittedly, I have no idea, but it does look cramped. I'm not gonna lie, it does look a little cramped, but they make it work, and that's the kind of thing I want to do here in this world. Admittedly, this was the choice to have favela-like structures was more self-indulgent so that I could have Jabin do parkour. Because if he doesn't have the luxury of climbing up walls and stuff like that, like our boy Peter or Miles. So I gotta make some other things up for him, should probably have another small building right here. Megan says, I'm an art assistant, intern, clip studio, help desk, Discord, Janny, professional nag. Yes, you are all those things. I'm not sure what Discord Janny is, but I've never heard that term before. Javen should have the strongest lats in the series. That's funny. That's pretty funny. He might have some pretty strong lats. He's 15 though, so his body hasn't filled out just yet. But he wouldn't be afraid to take a shirt off at the beach. I'll say that. That say looks like 1,000 burrows crammed together. Hey, just wait till you see the rest of this world. There's so many things I've planned. This is just like a part of the capital city. It's not even like what the entire world looks like. Janitor, LOL. That's what I was thinking too. I thought I met janitor, but I wasn't sure. Jordan, it seems like a good time to experiment with 3D block meshes and stuff. That's a good point. You make an excellent point. If you want to build the 3D block meshes, be my guest, because I don't know how to do that. You could have a 10 years in the future episode so we see the characters a bit older. That actually might be fun to do. That would be fun to do. I feel like, is it spoilery? I don't know if it's spoilery if I did that. Javen at 25. What would Javen at 25 look like? Probably look just like his dad without the eye bags. Because I literally drew him to look exactly like his dad, just with a different body structure. But yeah, Megan, to your point about the 3D block messages and stuff, I'm all ears. I'm all open to it. It's something that I just need to learn how to master, is that perspective tool with Clip Studio when it comes to the shapes, because I tell you, I think I showed it on the last stream where you can use the shape tool and it'll automatically connect to the vanishing points that you've set. And it's really, really amazing. Really, really cool. Okay, what was this supposed to be? Was this? Oh, it's just a wall. Okay. Just a big old wall right here. Where was that page with the really nice backgrounds on it? Here we go. It's another reason I like this particular drawing, because it has a really great display of texture, like in the ground and stuff, and the roofs. You can see like all the stuff that they're doing. So I'm gonna copy them. All right. And I'll figure out what to do for these other pathways and stuff. But we've made some progress, I would say. Started off with this sketch right here of Javen kind of jumping across the building. I know we didn't get a chance to draw him, the actual character, but I think it was more important to get these buildings in first. And you guys have seen me draw him so many times. You could watch any one of my videos to see me sketch him, or on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. Um, but yeah, guys, we're gonna close it off right here. I think this is a good spot. Not only is the time right about there, but my voice is starting to wear out, admittedly. So yeah, we're gonna have to close out. But I did also want to point you again one last time to the Shadowboxers website and merch store if you guys want to get something for Christmas. Or I think Lily Sapphire said she's been sharing with her friends. Maybe it's worth kind of showing the store a little bit too, because this is the way that you guys can support us in the best way possible. So again, I want to thank you guys so much for supporting my YouTube channel in this past year in 2023. I have so many great memories with you guys. You guys have made me laugh. You guys have made me think about things. You guys have given me great suggestions for this project, and we've grown a little community over here. It's small, but there's a lot of love, and I really appreciate it. So yeah. With that said, everyone, I hope you have an amazing rest of your 2023. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, all that good stuff, and then I'll see you all in the year 2024. Peace.